I'm John Little, and this is the ShockCast for Friday, March 2nd, 2018. The topic for today is down the memory hole, but I also want to let you know that I've been burning the midnight oil. In fact, burning the early morning oil, trying to get everything put together and getting this video to work. I've had to blow away my operating system, which is probably why I've got bags under my eyes and dark holes and whatever. Anyway, so the point is this: I'm doing a lot of different things, so we're going to be a little short today, I think. Hopefully, although I have a gift for gab. So let's talk about the topic that I ran across this week. In fact, it was Monday. So let's talk about that. How do you know that you know, or should I say, how do you know that you don't know what you don't know? It's an interesting problem that we all wrestle with. There really are things that are so hidden that you don't know what you are missing. The problem is that there are some who want to keep you from finding out what you don't know. And the first place that they start is the index to the internet. If they delete the information from a search engine, it is impossible to find out what you don't know. They call that a memory hole. And they just did that to one of my articles. By the way, you'll probably like this since it is really coming on spring here, got a chance to do some natural light, and the air from Fujian has come in, and it's messing up my asthma or whatever it is. It's not a serious, I don't have a serious asthma problem, but there's a lot of coughing and clearing throats and all that. It's just, hate it. But one of the many joys of living near China. Okay. The term memory hole comes from George Orwell's 1984, and you can find a reference to that here. It's in the Wikipedia. It's a Wikipedia article. And they just did that to one of my articles. Just about this time last year, I wrote an article called The Truth About Israel. I often need to refer to that article since there are so many anti-Semites out there, and I had to do that in January, in my profile of a certain anti-Semite that you might know about, Rick Wiles. I provide a link into the article, and I also in February did the same thing. And Rick is still spewing out his hatred of Israel and the Jews, so I am still having to refer to my article, The Truth About Israel. And I have left links to that article in the comments section of YouTube videos that were falsely accusing Israel. Most recently, under Rick Wiles' most current attack on the Jewish state. The good thing about that title, The Truth About Israel, is that it's fairly unique. And when I do a search on Google with that title in double quotes, it always appears on the front page of every Google search that I ever do. That is, until Monday. The ease of that Google search actually made me a bit sloppy, since I never need to pull up my own website to find the exact link. All that I needed to do was turn to Google. But like I said, that situation was fine until Monday. On Monday, I did this search like I always did, a Google search with The Truth About Israel in double quotes. This time, the search didn't turn up my article on the front page, nor did it turn up on the second or third or fourth or fifth, or even, after a second search, the 56th page. The article didn't turn up at all, and I had to run a search a second time to get that 56th page. Not even on the 56th page. Wow. No link, zip, yet, nope, nothing. Although, Paul Benson's article popped up with a link to that article. Thank you, Paul. I even, since the article was written less than a year ago, ran the search set to capture only those articles written a year or less ago. Still nothing. That is even more impressive. However, when I ran a search in double quotes with Omega Shock in the search term, it pops up just fine. Why? That's a good question. But it sounds like Omega Shock is under attack in some way. It's hard to know how big the attack is, but I find it interesting that Omega Shock was knocked out of the search results after my criticism of Rick Wiles. Does Rick Wiles have powerful protectors? Or is it just pure happenstance and the cruel whim of the Google algorithm? Yet, DuckDuckGo has the article at the top page just like Google used to, so I'm afraid that I smell a rat. A nasty smelling rat. I'm also a bit amused by this, and I laughed when I saw the DuckDuckGo results. All that Google is doing is encouraging me to greater effort, even if they weren't deliberately going after me in my article. So I shall be doubling down on the truth about Israel. At the very least, I consider the suppression of my article as a sign. It's a sign that I need to do more. It's a sign that I'm over the target. And I have so very many bombs in my bomb bay. All that I need to do is keep the bomb bay doors open and my hand on the bomb release. Bombs away. Well, that was pretty short, and we'll go on to some of the this week's research. We had lots of things that happened this week, but unfortunately, I was sort of out of commission as I was trying to rebuild my operating system and rebuild all the pieces that help me get these articles out on time. The first one, though, is, I titled it Lying, Cheating, Dirtbag RCC and Greek Orthodox. That was my contribution. The rest of the article title went, Christians Shutter Famous Jerusalem Church to Protest Taxes. If you lived in Jerusalem long enough, you would know how much land the Greek Orthodox Church owns, as well as the Roman Catholic Church. And that land makes lots of money. But they weren't being taxed. Well, Israel's getting tired of the tax cheats in pious robes, so they have stopped giving these dirtbags unfair tax breaks. Everyone else had to pay taxes, but they don't, really. On profits, remember, profits. Here's a key quote buried at the bottom of this article. Quote, however, hotels, halls, and businesses cannot be exempt from municipal taxes simply because they are owned by the churches. These are not houses of worship, it said in a statement. We will no longer require Jerusalem's residents to bear the burden of these huge sums. Remember, the Jerusalem municipality has to pay its own bills, and it needs taxes. And if you aren't paying taxes based on the profits that you're making from hotels and meeting halls and what else? And businesses, sorry, you gotta pay your taxes. Anyway, the anti-Semites like Rick Wiles have jumped on this, relishing the opportunity to falsely accuse Israel. But you should not be fooled. Dirtbags in pious robes are still dirtbags. And those who side with these dirtbags show that they are also dirtbags. The Roman Catholics and Greek Orthodox are making a ton of profit, and they need to pay their fair share of the tax burden. Everyone else pays their taxes. I certainly had to pay mine, and it was a lot. 50% on a very tiny salary. Like I said, dirtbags. And how dare the Associated Press spin this story in this way? They deliberately buried the truth at the bottom, just like the dirtbags that they are. The next one is about one of my favorite figures in history, Churchill, as in Winston Churchill. The article is titled, Churchill, the Man Who Saved the Free World. It's a YouTube video. Now, this is an exceptional video. Britain was ready to make peace with Hitler. After Hitler had captured Western Europe, the British people had been traumatized by World War I, and they just didn't want another war. But one man stood up and spoke the truth. All that he had was his own words and history. And with passion and conviction, he swayed the British people away from appeasement. Because of this one man and his powerful words, Hitler was stopped. Hitler had gambled that Britain would remain neutral, but his effort blew up on him, all because of Churchill. It was a close thing, but history is made up of close things. This next one is just infuriating. Parkland first responder. I was told to stand down. I could have saved lives. Alex Jones, InfoWars. So not only is the government incompetent and corrupt, and this is about the Florida shooting, but they are evil. They were told to stand down. I want whoever did that to go to jail for the rest of his or her life. And there were victims lying there for 45 minutes, bleeding to death. How many died because cowards and bureaucrats were running the show? I'd sincerely like to know. And of course, a part of this is Sheriff Scott Israel, who has a deputy who is leader of Hamas-linked CARE, Council on Arab Islamic Relations. Okay, whatever. So there is more to this school shooting in Florida. The sheriff has linked himself to Hamas through a deputy that he hired for just that purpose. I don't even think wow is enough. And here's another one. This is more Americans are now supporting a universal basic income. I'm putting this here instead of the moron section since it speaks to the incredible stupidity of a growing portion of American society. In fact, the stupidity is now at 48%. 48%? I can't believe it. In fact, I don't want to believe it. But when I remember my shock at how awful America had become in 2006, I must believe it. We have tried this before. And by the way, why 2006? Because that's when I came back from Israel. And it does not... And we've tried this universal basic income. Think the Weimar Republic of Germany. And it does not work. It never has, and it never will. Why? Because at heart, we are all morons. We are all evil. We are all selfish and stupid. The world has gone insane. Now, this speaks a little bit more to the heart of my main article today. It's titled, Groupthink and Why They Need to Censor Us. YouTube. Ah yes, groupthink. It is distressing how much we do it. Those of us who are introverts, such as myself, do it less than extroverts, but we are all susceptible to this mass psychology. The only time when we are not is when we devote ourselves to the truth. This is an interesting and short video. I think you'll be interested. Here's something a little bit more closer to home for me. The person went through southern Taiwan. There are some beautiful views in this video. It's my favorite island on the planet. David Dubin, or Dubine, took the opportunity to go driving around southern Taiwan, where Mrs. Little grew up. What a beautiful area. Kind of makes me wish I wasn't so obsessed with Omega Shock. But the crop losses that David talked about are a big concern. And yes, it has been an extra cold winter this year. There was a similar winter 2 years ago, but the severity didn't seem to last as long as this year. Of course, these are early days, and it looks like the farmers here are trying to find alternatives to their less hardy fruits and vegetables. Here's another one. It's from the QAnon. This is from Lionel, and it's a YouTube video. QAnon is revealing a vile, inexplicable, and unspeakable humanity that will shake you to the core. Lionel, which is not his real name, of Lionel Nation, is an atheist. So please understand what I'm about to say. What Lionel is talking about is how the Antichrist might rise to power by going after the Luciferians. Might. And Lionel hints that the revelations that we are going to experience, that they will blow our minds. Why? Because people that we have revered as holy and without spot or blemish will be shown to be Luciferians and pedophiles. And he even mentioned America's pastor. America's pastor? Billy Graham? I've heard rumors of unmentionable things, of compromises that a Christian should die rather than make. But the thought that there might be something even more dark than even that, just remember that it does not matter that so-and-sos fall from grace. What matters is the God who chose you, that you follow. Please keep what I said here firmly in mind. Never trust a teacher. By the way, I did a search on Google for that, and it popped up. So it appears that Google is going after that one article, The Truth About Israel. However, in time, they will memory hold the rest of my articles, given enough time. Anyway, if Lionel is right, get ready for some earth-shaking news. And the person who will jump up and champion the fight against the Luciferians and the pedophiles. Here's something else, and this was, Richard shared this, and it's from the tongue-in-cheek title, Aliens on Proxima b may have been obliterated by huge solar flare. Well, if there are any aliens. But Richard shared this as a demonstration of Ezekiel's fire. If Proxima Centauri could do this, our sun can and will. Although Isaiah speaks only of 7 times brighter, not 1,000. Okay, well, I've got, unfortunately, we have to get the class, so I may have to keep some of these. I have to skip over some of these. There is one more. I need to scroll down to get to it. Oh, sorry. I need to make that 2 more. This is from the investment section, or the financial collapse section. Investors' zeal to buy stocks with debt leaves markets vulnerable. And that's bad. When margin debt gets this high, stock markets crash. The only question is when. Just remember that insanity can continue for quite a while, and FOMO, fear of missing out, will always be with us, which is why margin debt will always add force to crashing markets. For those of you who do not understand this, let me explain. Margin debt is the amount of money that a stockbroker is willing to extend to you as a loan based upon the value of the assets that you hold in your account. By law, a broker is allowed to loan you an amount that is 50% of the value of your portfolio. So if you invest $100,000 with a Chase Manhattan broker, you can buy $150,000 in stock. What happens if the value of your stock portfolio goes down when you are maxed out in margin debt? You get a phone call from your broker telling you that you need to sell some of your assets or put more money into your account. They call it a margin call. And the broker is required by law to force you to sell your assets. If you don't, they will do it for you. What happens when there are too many margin calls in a market? That market downturn turns into a catastrophic collapse. The 1929 collapse was, in part, fueled by margin calls. And the reason why there is a law limiting margin debt to 50% of assets is due to that collapse. I believe that we shouldn't allow margin debt in the first place. It distorts the market as a financial indicator, and it encourages greed. Anyway, a high margin debt is not a sign that the market is about to collapse, but it is a sign that the market has become dangerously risky. It might still go up. It probably will still go up, but only if margin debt increases. For those of you who wish to stay in this market, play it smart. Gregory Mannarino has a good system, and he has a consistent track record. So does Martin Armstrong. However, Greg offers his advice for free, and Martin doesn't. Everyone has to pay their bills. Be careful out there, kids. Greed has taken over the stock market, and the result will be catastrophic. The only question is when. Okay, there's a few more, but there's one last one. And it's really short. The U.S. is about to move their embassy to Jerusalem on May 14th. I think that is awesome. And as much as I'm willing to criticize Donald Trump for what he might be, what he might not be doing, whatever, I'm always cynical about politicians. I'm always ready to jump in and criticize. But Donald Trump gets some credit for this one. He's moving the embassy, and he's moving it fast. Well done, Mr. President. Anyway, that's the ShockCast for this Friday, March 2nd. Spring is coming through the window, but so is the pollution from Fujian. So we'll We'll sign off here, and we'll rush off to class. Anyway, have a good weekend, everybody.